Hello, my name is Madison Bingaman. I'm a senior nursing student at Bloomsburg. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the death penalty and world politics. I picked this topic by going onto CNN and searching current world political issues, and this one sparked my interest. The purpose of this lecture is to describe the history of the death penalty. We will identify factors that affect the death penalty process and rates. We will recognize the death penalty laws around the world and connect the death penalty to current world politics. We will attempt to predict the future of the death penalty as accepted or denied. As we go through the slides, I want you to consider your own personal beliefs and values about the death penalty. Maybe consider some situations that you think the death penalty should be accepted, or whether you're 100% on the denial end. Amnesty International is a nonprofit, non-governmental organization that protects human rights around the world. I've provided the link to their main website for more information. Amnesty International has been working to end execution since 1977. Since then, 102 countries have completely abolished the death penalty. However, there are still 140 countries who use the death penalty as capital punishment today. As of 2015, there were 1,634 plus executions in just that year. 89% of those executions took place in only 3 countries. This map is taken off of Amnesty International's website and shows which countries have laws against the death penalty. Anyone who is black is a retentionist and retains the death penalty by law. Anyone who is yellow does not use the death penalty. Anyone who is dark gray retain the death penalty by law but have not executed for at least 10 years, and anyone who is light gray retain the death penalty only for serious crimes such as murder or during times of war. A lot of times a country's decision to abolish or accept the death penalty as capital punishment depends on the culture or religion of that country. It also depends on the available technology that country has, which will determine the form of the death penalty they will use. For example, countries with higher economic status can afford lethal injections, while lower economic countries use methods like shock chairs, beheading, crucifixion, and even hanging. Another factor that plays in the role of the death penalty is the political party who is currently in power of that country. For example, a country may abolish the death penalty for a very long period of time, but that new leader comes around and reenacts the death penalty, and all of a sudden the rates of the death penalty increase. Some reasons that countries believe that the death penalty is wrong is that it is torturing people and invading their human rights. Some countries also have age limitations on when the death penalty can be enacted. For example, execution may only be allowed on those over the age of 18. However, in some other countries, it does not matter what age you are if you committed a capital crime. Some countries, like the United States, tend to avoid putting women on death row as compared to men, while other countries put more women on death row. This all depends on the gender bias of that country. Another issue of the death penalty is that some law enforcement officers are discriminatory against the race or ethnicity of the people involved. And finally, what if those people are truly innocent? There's been multiple times where people who have been executed have later been found to be not guilty. The DPIC, or Death Penalty Information Center, is a database that allows you to review reports on death penalty issues around the world. It also allows you to search state-by-state regulations on the death penalty and provides other information such as the number of executions that state has, how many people are on death row, how the state executes people, and also has a schedule of upcoming execution dates. I've provided the link that you are able to access this website directly from my slide. I find this website very interesting, and I encourage you to access it and search your own state. The Chinese government has been notorious for keeping statistics about the number of executions each year a secret. This makes it very difficult for researchers to get accurate execution rates. China always seems to state that in the past their numbers have been extremely lower than what people actually expect to be reality. Instead of using governmental sources to achieve China's statistics, researchers have been relying on media sources and human rights groups for more accurate numbers. In 2012, it was estimated that China executed over thousands of criminals that year alone, while the rest of the world only had executed 682 in total. As mentioned previously, a factor that affects execution is the culture of that country. For example, Saudi Arabia is known for using standard tactics of execution, like beheading people, hanging them, but recently they have crucified somebody after beheading them. As political parties change in a country, so does their beliefs about execution. For example, in Japan, there was a very long period of time where they were not executing people at all. And then all of a sudden, once they got a new leader into power, they had 7 executions in that year alone. This is a map taken directly off the DPIC. It is a map of the United States that are with or without the death penalty as of August 18th, 2016. Any state that is shaded in red is with the death penalty. Any state shaded with light blue is without the death penalty. And any state shaded in with purple are states with a governor-imposed moratorium. As you can see, Pennsylvania is shaded in purple, so we are a state that has a governor-imposed moratorium. Pennsylvania is a state that accepts the death penalty for capital punishment. Since 1976, there have only been 3 executions. There are currently 175 people on death row. As mentioned previously, Pennsylvania is a state with a governor-imposed moratorium. This means that that state's governor has the authority to suspend the death penalty in its state. On February 13, 2015, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf issued a memorandum announcing a moratorium on all executions in the state. The memo stated that no executions will take place at least until he has received and reviewed the forthcoming report of the Pennsylvania Task Force and Advisory Commission on Capital Punishment. Across the world, there is an attempt to abolish the death penalty for capital punishment. For example, General Ban Ki-moon, the United Nations Secretary, requested a global abolition of the death penalty related to executing terrorists. He believes that executing terrorists is bad because it creates counterterrorism and increases the terrorist campaigns. In June 2016, there was a 6th World Congress meeting against the death penalty. They have decided to renew the call for global moratorium. Also, to be a part of the European Union, countries are not allowed to use the death penalty for capital punishment. This link provides an article from CNN about how Turkey planned to use the death penalty, but then was denied European Union membership. Here's a brief article taken from the Amnesty International website. It will provide you a real-life story of some issues with the death penalty.